So welcome everyone. It is Friday in January. I always have to say that because I never know what day it is. This is Audrey Russo, President and CEO of the Pittsburgh Technology Council, and you are all in for a treat today. This is a dear friend to the Tech Council and to our community, Petra Mitchell. I will formally introduce her in a moment, but I just want to get some of the housekeeping out of the way. And it's important housekeeping. One is to give thanks to Huntington Bank and thank them for the support that they've given us and what they give the community. They've been partners with us in many things that we've experimented with. Hard to believe that we're probably on our 204th business as usual today. And we see no end in sight. We're having fun. We've had a chance to just meet and talk with incredible people who represent our communities, who are our elected officials, and soon with the new administration, we're going to have a lot of people to talk to. So thanks to 40 by 80 as well. That's the wholly owned subsidiary of the Pittsburgh Tech Council. It's our 501c3, and we work on workforce development related to innovation in tech, as well as entrepreneurship. So we have muted your microphone so that we can hear our guests and not have distractions in the background. I actually do not have any dogs with me today, so it should be quiet. And they've found their way to their own grooming spa for the day, so I'm on reprieve. But I'm pretty thrilled to have Petra here today, Petra Mitchell. She is the president and CEO of an organization called Catalyst Connection. She is probably the only person I know in this region that knows about manufacturing inside and out than anyone else. And that includes services, that includes products, that includes data, that includes trends, and that includes strategies around ways to make sure that the work in manufacturing, and she's going to talk about that in a minute, what that means, manufacturing, because that term very often is used loosely, and she will be able to provide some clarity. I think you'll be thrilled to hear from her. We're going to put the link up about her organization. If you haven't heard of it before, you really should take note. We're going to talk a little bit about the programs that they actually offer and the support. And she is a hidden gem for us in our region. I've known Petra since I've been in my job at the Tech Council. So I call her a friend, and she's a friend to the tech community as well. So I've also, listen, there's a chat in here, so please ask questions. I'll try to get to them as well. Jonathan Kirsting is not with us today, so I will be looking at the questions and making sure that anything comes up gets addressed. This is not an opportunity to sell your wares either. This is a time for us to just indulge and listen to our guests and have a chance to talk about the things that our guest has expertise in. So I want to welcome Petra Mitchell, President and CEO of the Pittsburgh Tech Council. And hi, Petra, thank you so much for joining us. It's a thrill to have you here today to wrap up the week. And I hope that you are safe and sound. I think you are. We've touched base a little bit through the pandemic. But before we start, let's talk about who is Petra? What has been your journey? And, because you have a very interesting background and pedigree.
Well, hello, Audrey, and hello, everybody. And I just wanted to say thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And before I answer your question, I do just want to congratulate you, Audrey, and your team on all the things you guys are doing, but in particular, this business as usual program, because I have been following it almost from day one. I think you started probably March 17th, the first day of our virtual work from home when the pandemic started. And I've been very impressed with the work that you've been doing and the people that you've had that have been able to communicate very important topics. So I hope this is, a value to some of your listeners. I think manufacturing, as you know, is very important to our community. And the more people that know about manufacturing and are engaged in thinking about how can we grow manufacturing, I think the better it'll be for all of us. So thank you.
Well, thank you. So we're going to ask you, who is Petra and what do you do? I mean,
yeah.
Really the intro to set the table. So thank you for those compliments.
Yeah, and I'll tell you who I am. And as I said earlier, probably nobody cares. But anyway, like you, Audrey, I've been with Catalyst Connection for a long time. Been there for almost 25 years. But I did have some work prior to that. I am an engineer. So I worked for GE Aviation prior to coming to Catalyst Connection, working in manufacturing manufacturing process development, supply chain work, and so forth. And I think that's really what set me up for this role here at Catalyst, again, with my role in working with GE supply chain throughout the country. Why manufacturing? And I thought about that a lot. And I think, I just grew up with manufacturing. Some people may know I'm an immigrant. I came here from Slovenia. I was 5 years old. My parents came here with literally nothing. I always say, three plane tickets, 2 suitcases, and 1 small child. That's how we started in this country. And my dad was a machinist and had a very long career as a machinist and provided for our family. And as they say, the rest is history. So I can see how, the impact that manufacturing had on my life and the family now that I have. And I think it can have that same impact and those same positive benefits for so many more people. And not only the people that are working, in manufacturing today, but job seekers and students and others who may be looking for what's their next move. I think manufacturing can present that same kind of opportunity for them.
So before we talk about the actual, what you actually do and some of the services that Catalyst provides, there are a couple of people that are wanting to remind us and tell us all that not only you're an immigrant and from Slovenia, you're the honorary consul for Pittsburgh for Slovenia.
Yeah, I saw that. Thank you very much for pointing that out. It's a role that I'm very proud of. An honorary consul role is basically promoting business and friendship culture between our 2 countries and our regions. I'm very proud of my home country. And as some of you may know, there are some very famous people from Slovenia, and believe it or not, for a small country. But yeah, I'm happy to reach out to anyone. And in our region here, southwestern Pennsylvania has a very strong Slovenian, population, American Slovene population. So I'm very proud to cross over the Slovenian culture and manufacturing and tech and so forth.
Yeah, it's something Ben is saying here. It's a beautiful country. I've been to southern Slovenia and it is stunning.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Stunning small country. So thank you for your work there. Oh my God, Ray Huber saying he's been there 6 times. I think we need to have a Slovenian. We need to have a show on Slovenia then. Maybe we should
absolutely.
do that.
Maybe.
That would be fun. So you're dedicated to serving manufacturing companies. Can you tell us what manufacturing actually looks like in our country and in our region?
Yeah, absolutely. So in our country, manufacturing actually still employs 12 million people, and it's the 6th largest industry in terms of employment. It's a $2.4 trillion sector. And, one of the main attributes, I think, of manufacturing is that it has such a large contribution to our country's R&D. 2/3 of our country's R&D occurs in manufacturing and is as a result of manufacturing. Now, obviously, there are some challenges that manufacturing sector in the U.S. has faced, and including the decline of jobs. And we've had a long-standing decline of manufacturing jobs that, led us to where we are today. And, we're still so very important. So I think the opportunity there to grow manufacturing and, bring it back, I guess, it is very significant. In our region, manufacturing is our 4th largest industry in terms of contribution to gross regional product. And if you just think about what are the top 3, they're very important: tech sector, professional business services, real estate, healthcare, and so forth. Those are sectors where, not always, but in general, we tend to work and sell to each other. When you think about manufacturing in general sells outside of the region. So we refer to manufacturing really as the largest traded sector in southwestern Pennsylvania, which is a very important role, that it has there. So moving on from there, as you mentioned in your highlights, there's about 3,000 manufacturing firms. They employ about over 80,000 people. And, during the pandemic, just like across all sectors, employment has declined. But I think what's interesting about manufacturing is that it is back to 94% of pre-pandemic levels.
Wow.
So there was a low point in manufacturing employment in April. And since April, manufacturers have rehired, about 5,000, 6,000 workers to get us back to 94%, which is better than the overall regional average. And of course, much, much better than some of the sectors that have really been hit hard by the pandemic. So manufacturing is climbing back up and is hiring. And, I know we'll get into some of the issues and concerns relative to that.
Right. I mean, what's so interesting though is really if you could just talk a little bit, because manufacturing, that term is a little overused and sometimes people don't understand that. There's a term advanced manufacturing, 3D manufacturing, we do robots, etc. Are there two things here? What are some of our assets here in any of those sectors?
Mm-hmm.
And are we seeing any growth in those particular
sectors? So if you look at just by demographics, our region is still a metals-based manufacturing region. So fabricated metal products, so these are like subsectors: primary metals, machinery, equipment, and computer and electrical products. We've referred to those as an electromechanical cluster. So it's companies that are really integrating advanced electronics, with metal parts, metal components, and structures and infrastructure and so forth. So all of those sectors really are seeing growth. And that growth is really coming from, I think, a couple places. Pandemic response, for sure. So we have a lot of companies in our region that are in the medical device space, and then that entire supply chain, I think, is here, and I think there's growth there. There's definitely growth in defense, and if we get to it, I'd like to talk a little bit about a defense initiative that we have going on. And, then I think companies that are still in the sort of infrastructure, transportation, those kinds of things, I think there's definitely seeing some growth there. And you're absolutely right. The integration with our advanced technology in our region, robotics, automation, there's a lot of overlap, and we are seeing manufacturing companies that are in that robotic space, or smaller, robotics companies moving into that advanced manufacturing space. It's going both ways, and it's very exciting what we're seeing there.
And this 94% number is quite fascinating to me in terms of getting us up, because as you mentioned, so many areas have been totally decimated.
Yes.
Continue to be decimated. Did you see a proliferation of pivots that manufacturers actually pivoted to the demands of the pandemic, not just medical device?
We did see some of that. Yeah. And we tracked that. I personally interacted, I would say, at least 40 or 50 companies that early on in the pandemic were definitely pivoting and working on some new things. But I'll have to say, in my view, where I sit, I think the growth is really just coming from existing segments that we're in, where our manufacturers have been able to take advantage of the opportunities. I heard it said recently, opportunity is luck met with preparation. So we've been prepared. We've had, we have the manufacturing infrastructure in place, and our manufacturers have been able to take advantage of those opportunities.
So let's just, before we go on to something next, talk about this defense initiative.
Yes, so Callus Connection responded to, on behalf of our community, an opportunity with the DoD, the Department of Defense, to establish a defense manufacturing community. It was a highly competitive program, and they selected 6 communities throughout the country. So we are one of those 6. In our community, we have started with a core consortium of 30 members that includes industry, of course, which is very important, industrial members, but also includes our universities, workforce development programs, and other similar partners, so that we can really come together and create a cluster around the defense supply chain. And we believe we have at least 300 companies in our region that are in that defense supply chain. The DoD is interested in expanding that, so there's definitely opportunities for new companies to enter that supply chain. And at the same time, there'll be opportunities for current defense supply chain members to get better integrated with the tech-based ecosystem, with our university, with research, The focus is on artificial intelligence and machine learning. So we'll have an opportunity to really introduce those topics to manufacturers, help them evaluate how they fit in their business, and actually help them implement some of those advanced technologies. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's very exciting.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of attention because, like I said, we're one of 6 communities throughout the country. So
Terrific.
yeah.
Thank you for your leadership on that. And I think I want to make sure, because I've had a couple of questions in the chat, and I want to make sure that I've set the table accordingly, is that talk about the actual services and that you offer and some of the products at Catalyst Connection. So if people want to reach out, they want to get engaged, there's so many different areas that you cover and what you provide support to.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that question. I guess we did kind of dive deep
Yeah,
into it.
that's because we're friends and we just dove right in. So
yeah, exactly. So thank you for that question. So Catalyst Connection is an economic development organization is dedicated to serving manufacturers. We did talk about that. We provide technical assistance, management consulting, and workforce development assistance. And we do that through consulting projects. We do that through educational opportunities, and we do that basically, through a lot of outreach, communications, personal interactions, and networking, those kinds of things. We are part of a statewide network and program called the Industrial Resource Center program. And I think maybe even more importantly for some of our colleagues, we're part of a national program called the Manufacturing Extension Partnership, or MEP. And what that means is that we are probably a phone call away from just about any small and medium-sized manufacturer in this country. We have an MEP that covers every square inch of the United States, and every company has access to a program like ours. And again, more importantly, we have those connections that we can really establish for supply chain opportunities, for partnership opportunities, for collaboration, you name it, that network exists. And I'm very proud to be part of that network, actually.
No, it's been incredible.
Yeah.
Catalyst Connection has been around since
the late 80s.
Late 80s, right? It had a different name back then, right?
Yeah, we started out as SPIRC, and that was based on our state funding called the Industrial Resource Center. So we were the Southwestern Pennsylvania Industrial Resource, and we're, like I said, a proud member of that program that continues on today.
Well, so let's just talk about public policy, and let's just sort of have some armchair imagination here. We have a new administration. There will be changes. There's certain policy that we've heard from, particularly in their campaign. Yeah. What do you think are some of the things that are on the horizon? Relates to manufacturing and advanced manufacturing and related.
Thank you, Audrey. So I'll certainly preface that I'm sure that there are going to be, initiatives and policies that come out of the new administration, just like any administration, that not all manufacturing leaders are going to agree with. And so I would just encourage everyone to get involved, Audrey, with your organization and other similar organizations that really work to develop that, advocacy strategy and determine what are we in favor of and what aren't we in favor of. So I would definitely encourage everyone to do that. However, in terms of what this administration, what we're seeing, there's definitely a focus, and I've heard it sort of described according to 4 themes. And manufacturing, by the way, seems to be on the top of mind of this administration and some of the appointees that we're seeing. We're very familiar with, let's say, the person that's been nominated for the Department of Commerce has longstanding roots in manufacturing, those kinds of things. Buy American, for sure, we're seeing there tends to be a focus on Buy American. Reshoring. So that's related, of course, to Buy American. So if there are provisions, let's say, we've had discussions. When I say we have an association of MEPs. We have a very active engagement with administration, congressional leaders, and so forth. We've had discussions about, let's say, a infrastructure spending bill, which we know is being discussed. If that bill were to be passed at some level, what would that look like, a Buy American provision? And can we help, let's say, some of the large government contractors find the appropriate suppliers that are in the US, the small and medium-sized manufacturers, a company in our community? can we help not only find them, but support them as
Mhm.
they get involved in these large infrastructure projects? And if they're not already here, can we support that reshoring of those products? So those are the first two, Buy American reshoring, workforce and workforce development, I think is going to be a key theme. And I think organized labor is going to be a key theme. So I think this administration is going to be very interested in supporting organized labor initiatives. I'm not sure at what level and what exactly that all is going to mean, but I think that's something we definitely need to be thinking about. And then almost at every corner, addressing climate change. I think this administration sees that as a top priority. And again, I would encourage people to get involved in an advocacy strategy to advocate one way or another. But I think addressing climate change could present huge opportunities for manufacturers because it's our manufacturers that are developing the technology, the products, the systems that can help with healthy buildings, energy efficiency, vehicles, any of those kinds of large systems where there's significant opportunity for energy reduction, energy efficiency, that really can't be done without our manufactured products. So, again, I think that it's all about demand. I think, we need to create demand. If we create the demand, the rest will come. And our companies, we have so many fantastic, highly progressive, advanced technology companies, and so much at our disposal. Our universities, for example, if we don't know how to do something, we can get them involved and we can figure it out together. That kind of thing. So I'm very optimistic.
Yeah, it's a shift too. It's a shift.
Yeah.
So I'm excited by the data that you're sharing.
Yeah.
And our performance over this last period of since the pandemic as well. And I think that's great. What about workforce? How are you involved in sort of what is loosely termed as workforce, but is very broadly encompassed?
Yes, thank you, Audrey. Workforce development, of course, is, when we're not thinking about business growth and all those kinds of things, workforce is definitely top of mind. And it's really a full portfolio of workforce development. And I'll just say, I like to think of it, whatever analogy, art to part, soup to nuts. How do we start at the youngest level possible to provide age-appropriate career awareness, workplace learning opportunities? At Catalyst, our programs start at the middle school level, middle school and high school level. How do we help job seekers, that maybe missed that window? And we have a significant program around job seekers. And then upskilling. So we have apprenticeship programs. We support apprenticeship programs in a major way. And then the whole leadership management development is getting even greater need we're seeing for that than we've even seen in the past.
Have you seen more people that are interested? I mean, because really automation has been the key to success in terms of manufacturing. And those skills are really, really different than you might have thought of 10 years ago. What are you seeing in terms of some demand? Because I think that's important for our community to understand. Manufacturing is not necessarily just doing repetitive tasks on the line, but it's more sophisticated than that.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say by far it's not doing repetitive tasks because the kinds of companies we have in our region tend to be low volume, high value added type products, right? So we don't have those long assembly lines like Laverne and Shirley and all that, we don't have that kind of stuff. So yeah, there is a huge demand for technical skilled workers. I think the good news is that manufacturers are more than willing to train and upskill. And so I think for anyone that really has that, like we talk about for any industry, basic employability skills, desire to work and learn, and basic mechanical aptitude skills, or, the desire to learn those. There are opportunities, and a person literally can come off the street, let's say, because we have a large unemployed. We have entry-level apprenticeship program that can get them to a basic level of skills, 18-month program. And then from there, as they say, the world is your oyster, right? So you can, machining, CNC machining is a huge need and a lot of demand for that. And there's a lot of programs to get into that. Welding is still a need. There's opportunity there. And then what you're talking about, I would say is under the category of industrial maintenance.
Okay.
Or at community college, they call it mechatronics. So it's understanding electromechanical systems, hydraulics, and so forth, and how they interact with each other. Huge opportunity there for anyone that chooses to pursue that path.
And so you have a question in here from Bob Shapley saying with DoD contracts, it's our understanding they require contractors, subcontractors to be NIST 800-171, which is cybersecurity compliant. Does Catalyst work with their manufacturing clients to meet these standards?
So yes, and I would say not only the NIST. So the NIST framework is something that you use as a guide, let's say.
Okay.
The DoD is actually going to be requiring their contractors at all level to be what's called CMMC certified.
Mm-hmm.
Cyber, wow, now at the moment, it's like on the top of my tongue. So just Google it, CMMC. And there are 5 levels of CMMC certification. And literally they're saying any company, even if they're like cutting their grass, you're going to have a level 1 CMMC certification. And it is based on the NIST 800 standards. So there it is. Someone just posted a cyber maturity model certification. Thank you very much. Yes. So yes, at Catalyst, and it's actually part of our defense community. A big part of that is helping companies understand and make progress towards the appropriate level of CMMC certification. So absolutely.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So are we attracting new manufacturing companies here? Are we doing any of that? Do you see any trends? Not that that's your role, but is that,
Yeah,
what are you seeing?
I am seeing some of that. Yeah, I think there is some interest in that. I think certainly our universities are a big draw for that. Companies want to be in this area for access to the technology, the students, the professors, and so forth. I personally would like to see a lot more of that. I think we need a lot more growth in business attraction if we're really going to grow manufacturing. But I think it's better than nothing, and I'm hopeful that there'll be more to come.
That's great. So Joe Vanesky actually put out the CMMC
Thank you.
out
Yeah,
there in the
appreciate
link.
that.
And
Mhm.
so is there anything, Petra, that you think that you want to get a point across to the people who are listening? You've got an active audience here that is very interested in what's happening.
Yeah, well, like I mentioned, we're building out a community for manufacturing. So I'd encourage anyone to reach out to us, to me, and let's talk about how we can, be involved and to support this effort. Because a thing I like to say, I use it in a lot of my proposal writing, when manufacturing succeeds, everyone in our community has the opportunity to prosper. And I believe that I'm a product of that. And so I'd like to see, opportunities created for others.
You certainly are. I'm so glad that we had a chance not only to talk to you, but just be reminded, for those of us that know you and those who don't, that you came here with not knowing, English, and
Right.
you came from Slovenia, right? And why did your parents come to Pittsburgh? Do you remember? Do you know why?
Yeah, well, 2 reasons. One is the strong Slovenian community that was established here. So we had family here. And the other one was manufacturing, because my dad, my father could get a job pretty quickly, not even being able to speak English. He could be a machinist and learn, English through that process. But yeah, I learned English in 1st grade at St. Aloysius on Montroy Road. So if anyone's from the area, that's where I learned English.
No, thank you so much. First of all, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you've been very busy. COVID has definitely affected all of us, and in particular the manufacturing community, the pivots, the safety, the protocols, you name it. And appreciate your leadership. So anyone, if you reach out to catalystconnection.org, you will be able to find Petra and many members of her team. And you can see even in a deeper dive what some of those services and products are that they offer, constantly changing, they're constantly evolving. And no surprise to me that it's a vibrant organization that matters to our region. So my hat's off to Petra. Thank you, my friend, for being with us today. And we have on Monday, it's Friday, I have to say that out loud because I always think every day is the same. And Monday we have Allison Alvarez. She is a startup founder of a company called Blast Point. We're going to do a little bit of a dive into that. We like to make sure that we're providing an array of interesting people doing incredible things. So today, Petra is no exception. She is here in our community working feverishly, and as an engineer and as an immigrant, she has done a tremendous amount to move this region forward. So I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Have a safe weekend, and we'll see you again on Monday. Thank you.